life are free. The stars belong to everyone. They gleam there for you and me.
So in the last video, we saw that the punches that are commonly used in mixed martial arts could lead to a broken hand. And that's not something that I said, but something that one of the greatest mixed martial artists in the world today came out and admitted. So having seen the problems inherent to modern striking methods, why don't we take a look at modern grappling methods as far as hand-to-hand combat is concerned? Back in 2002, when it came out, along with the rest of the world, I took a look at the new U.S. Army Combatives Manual. What immediately struck me were tactical errors that I could perceive in the basic techniques of the course. And the reason for that was that I could see that they had not taken into account the presence of weapons, which for me, being close quarter combat and not a sport, was surprising. I was surprised that they had established a system around the modern forms of grappling and around mixed martial arts, because I knew that there was a reason the classical techniques were taught the way that they were taught. Which is not to say that there are not a lot of very good things in these new formulations. It's just that for each thing you have to look at why it's there, what need does it serve, what is its purpose. In any case, I formulated these objections very quickly and even published them, and of course I was mocked by the thousands, if not hundreds of thousands, of very young men on the internet who know a lot more about martial arts and close quarter combat than I do. But, lo and behold, what happened? In 2006, the U.S. Army started incorporating the use of stun guns into its training to simulate a knife during combat. And basically over the past few years the U.S. Army has come out with two semi-official statements saying that the U.S. modern Army combatives do not work and need to be revised. Specifically, I am referring to these publications here.
You came down to this southern town last summer to show the folks a brand new way of life. But all you've shown the folks around here is trouble, and you've only added misery to their strife. Your concern is not to help the people.
You think I'm being too harsh, huh? Why don't we look at some before and after photos? The before photo is from 2002. The after photos are from 2011. You be the judge.
Your concern is not to help the people. And I'll say again, no, it's been often said. Your concern is just to bring discomfort, my friend. And your policy is just a little red. Now, ain't I right? Ain't you right? Ain't you right?
Let me try to give you a little better idea of what we're talking about and the inherent risks to these methods. Okay, let's start with the guard position. In my opinion, teaching the guard to soldiers for combatives is completely wrong. There are a number of reasons for that. They're very simple and they're very basic as far as instincts are concerned. The first thing is, there's an obvious point to attack. Now, a skilled grappler can prevent me from attacking that point. So what happens when he tries to prevent me from attacking this ground? Better explain. He's pulling me in here and he's controlling me, he's closing his guard, he's doing whatever. We're going to change sides so you can see what's happening. Now, what's happened by this? Okay, if I try to escape, he holds me down. Okay, he might strike me, he might do different things to me, but what is the tactical consideration that he has not covered by virtue of having to hold me in this position? I'm not a vampire. But there are a lot of women who have escaped from attempted rapes by ripping out the throat, the carotid arteries, the jugular veins of their assailants. And here you are clearly exposing a very vulnerable point to a very powerful weapon that still exists in the human animal. So he's got two choices. If we start out, and this is combat, this is not a sport, there are no rules, okay? The first thing I'm going to try to attack is here. Now he can punch back at me too, no doubt about it, okay? But he's got a very, very weak point open here. If he tries to defend it by pulling me in, okay, what's happening? He's opening up another point for me to attack. Even if he controls my hands completely, no matter what he does, okay, he's got my hands controlled completely, I can still attack. Even if he pulls me out to the side and controls me this way, okay, I can still try to come in and attack. It's very hard for him to close this point. Okay? Does this mean that grappling is bad? That it's wrong? That it can't be used in combat? Of course not. It's just that what is taught has to be modified to include tactical considerations in combat, in actual combat, that were probably removed for dueling or fighting fist to fist or whatever it is that they were doing when the art was originated.
Your followers sometimes have been a bearded, battler's bunch. There's even been a minister or two, a priest, a nun, a rabbi, and an educated man have listened and been taken in by you. All the country's full of two-faced politicians who encourage you with words that go like this. Burn your draft card if you like, it's good to disagree. That's a get acquainted.
The thing is, I'm not berating Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm berating the people that think that combat is a mixed martial arts competition. That's not the case, and we're going to see that. Ripping out throats with your teeth, gouging out eyes, and all that good stuff aside, the real reason there's a problem with modern grappling methods is bladed weapons. Okay, this is the very famous mounted position, which again is great if you're doing mixed martial arts. Is it good in hand-to-hand combat, close quarter combat? Well, let's see. He certainly has superiority over me in this particular instance. It's hard for me to strike here. Not as hard as it might seem, because I'm not going to try to fist him, but I can work this way or this way into his groin. Of course, he can control me, and he has the dominant position. But now, it's not so dominant anymore. In fact, if this were a real knife, and it is a real knife, notice how it's very difficult for him to defend himself, whereas it's very easy for me to attack, because all his soft tissue is open for me here as well. Or maybe the knife is in my boot. So Nectarius is striking me with his fist, the guy's pulling out a knife, well, he's protecting himself, and guess what happens? All this is exposed. Okay, he's in a very vulnerable position, and he shouldn't be. In the same respect, if the opponent, just make sure this is safe. If the opponent has a knife, the first thing that Nectarius needs to do is to secure the weapon. So the second that he does that, okay, secure the weapon, what happens? He's opening up other weak points, okay? He's opening up other weak points that I can attack. I don't really need to do much, just turn him over. Guess what? Okay, he's opened up a lot of points. Which brings me to another point. That's a little cute. I've seen things in the combatives training where practitioners are doing things like sitting in a mounted stance, holding the knife away from the person, and then coming in suddenly. That's complete and total nonsense. First of all, when the weapon is away, there's points that are being exposed that he can attack, which the assailant will not want. Okay. Secondly, there is no reason for an assailant to be in a mounted position. If I was attacking somebody on the ground with a weapon, I would want to secure him, but I would not secure him in a mount. What I try to do is secure the leg, either on the inside like this, or straight, down if I can, or even on the outside. Because the points that I want to attack are not high up. The points that I want to attack are down here. So what I would do is come in low. I wouldn't even approach him. I wouldn't try to go into a mount. If he was down and took a traditional defensive position like this, I would attack here. I wouldn't care. I would draw in a kick. I would let him try to do that, okay? None of this stuff is applicable if the opponent has a weapon.
Η δεξιά σου μεριά το μαχαίρι.
Όχι, όχι, θα αρχίσεις από εδώ και περπάτα σιγά σιγά.
Το πάρεις από εκεί να μην μπορώ να το φτάσω.
Οι Ισραηλοί το έχουν στο δεξί τους, στη δεξιά τους μεριά το μαχαίρι. Ναι, στο κάνω κάτω όλο χέρι.
Όχι, όχι, κάτω από τη δεξιά μεριά και εγώ θα τα αφήσω εδώ πέρα. Okay, we're going to just try some of these different techniques that are taught. Here's a knife. It is supposedly on my right-hand side, so I'm going to put it here, and Nectarius is going to do a triangle choke on me on the right-hand side. Right? So this is supposedly secure. Both my hands are secure. Okay, whatever you want. Now, what happened is, I just put my weight down a little bit. As he's choking me, okay, all I did to fight him was I used my elbow into his gut. And that's not going to stop the choke, it's just going to delay it a little bit until I can get to my right boot and pull out the knife. So it's virtually impossible to stop someone from drawing a weapon if he knows a little bit about what you're doing. He doesn't have to be better than you or even that good, he just has to know a little bit about it. Once a weapon comes into play, all the rules change.
Tell you what, let's go through the usual process. I will show you exactly what I mean, and you can decide yourself if I'm right or wrong. Is that all right?
So let's conduct a simple experiment. Let me show you something here. This is the tendon of an ox. It is untold times stronger than a human tendon. This is a simple knife of the type one may possibly encounter in a self-defense situation in an urban environment, more so in a combat zone. So let's see what happens. That took less than 2 seconds.